Ryne Nelson will stay in the starting rotation while Montgomery will be moved to the pen. That announcement was made today. The news was broke by Steve Gilbert from MLB.com and of course, our guy over at AZ Central, Nick Picoro. But Torey called it one of the hardest conversations he's ever had to have. And it's understandable, especially considering someone of Jordan Montgomery's stature, someone of his pedigree as a starting pitcher. And honestly, I think the thing that surprises all of us about this move is someone of his contract, right? Like, we know that the right move was to put Ryne Nelson in the starting rotation. I don't think there was any doubt about that. But we knew that based on the obligation they've made, they kind of were in a position where they kind of had to do it. Apparently, Torey wanted Jordan to kind of process it today and then start working on how he can contribute out of the bullpen tomorrow. But this is like a real thing where Jordan Montgomery, who hasn't been a relief pitcher, is going to have to kind of figure it out now, figure out how to get loose with a significantly less amount of time, and how to still contribute to this team, considering that he is being moved out of the starting rotation.
Yeah, and I love Torey, and I'm not going to say that he's not being genuine when he says that, because I think that this is the truth. But I feel like every time Torey has like a difficult conversation, he comes to the media and he's like, that was the toughest conversation I've ever had in my entire life. Because in the moment, it actually is. Like, the guy really cares about the mental well-being, I think, of his players. And so whatever's the current situation is whatever is at the forefront of his mind. But it was the right decision. And, you know, I think the Diamondbacks have shown in the last couple of seasons that they can be cutthroat with these kind of moves. They did it with Bumgarner, who wasn't necessarily, you know, like the easiest guy to get along with. So I think that might have been a little bit easier. But they've done it with sending, you know, Blaze and Alec down and Jake last year. And I mean, they don't mess around with this stuff. Carson Kelly, DFA, Nick Ahmed. So like it's as a fan, it's proof that they care first and foremost about winning baseball games. And it's hard to, you know, really like, it's nice. It's a nice feeling as a fan, because typically a small market franchise like the Diamondbacks, they wouldn't be the money decisions a lot of times outweigh those on-field decisions. But the Diamondbacks are proving that they don't care about that. They're willing to do what it takes.
Michael in the chat says it's because Torey's job is on the line if he doesn't make those decisions. I mean, yes, but Torey's job is not on the line. Don't get it twisted.
That's what I was going to say.
That's just what crazy fans think when they lose a baseball game and they think Torey should be fired. Like, Torey led this team that was way ahead of schedule to the World Series last year. And despite the fact that there's 3 dudes on Twitter that want to constantly tweet us and tell us how they got to the World Series in spite of Torey, not because of him, you're wrong. And it's because Torey's an excellent manager and he does a great job with young talent. It's such a crazy take, right?
He pressed every button right the entire playoffs to get us there. Like, I mean, it was a managing masterclass in the postseason last year. And he's not perfect. He doesn't always make the right decisions. We called him out today. We were like, hey, why is Kevin Ginkel pitching? Kind of seems like a weird move. Right.
And people in the chat actually had good reasons. We didn't get a chance to like go to some of them, but I think they said because Ginkel was already warming up when all of that, like when the 6th and 7th inning happened and everything kind of blew up. So yeah, it's understandable. Like, you didn't know it was going to be a blowout at that point. And you still wanted your high leverage guy in there to kind of hold a close game close. But you know, that's it, right? In hindsight, a jackass like me and you can get on this show and be like, why didn't you use Ginkel? Right? I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's much easier to do that. Go try playing MLB The Show, right? If you get one of those guys warming up, what, you're supposed to sit him down now and bring another guy up? Do you have enough time for that? Is your one guy's little meter going to run out before then? Like, that's the way it kind of works in real life too. But I will say this, is that in regards to this situation, I'm sure the front office was involved as well. I'm sure this decision wasn't entirely on Torey, especially considering the fact that they are spending $25 million a year on Jordan Montgomery and the fact that he has a player option for next year. There's decisions that go beyond the manager. And in this case, this was the right decision, period. Right. And honestly, Jordan Montgomery today spoke to the media and he had a quote that, if you kind of take a look at it, I mean, I don't know, it kind of sums up maybe how Jordan Montgomery feels about being here in Arizona altogether. Jordan Montgomery spoke to Mac I believe it's Cirillo, could be Cerullo, but Max Cirillo of the Boston Herald. And Jordan Montgomery said this in regards to his free agency. Obviously, Boris kind of butchered it, so I'm trying to move on from the offseason and try to forget it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty frank and to the point, isn't it? Like he's
Well,
not
I mean,
hiding his emotions
he's not.
there.
Right. I mean, this directly addresses the reason why he moved on from Scott Boras as his agent. And again, this is one of those situations where, all things considered, like, this obviously is not something he's over. Right. I mean, you could also get a sense of, yeah, he's thinking about it a lot. You also get the sense that Jordan Montgomery seems to make a lot of excuses at times for things and doesn't really seem to be the kind of person that can just kind of put things behind him and move on, right?
I haven't noticed that.
Chase Field's so hot and humid, Damon. I mean, it actually is. I'm going to back him up on that. The place is not great sometimes, and I work there.
Summer, and it's baseball. It's hot and humid in a lot of places.
A lot of places that don't have a roof and don't have air conditioning because they're an open park stadium, right? So it's like, I don't want to get stuck on the humidity thing. I do want to get stuck on this, though. I want to get stuck on the fact that he is obviously like upset, right? And this is not, an ideal situation for him. I don't even know what the future is going to hold. The other day we were talking about this situation and I discussed moving him to the bullpen in a way that would upset him and maybe cause him to opt out of his player deal next year. And maybe that's the best for everybody, right? Maybe even though he might not make $25 million somewhere else, he might make $20 million a year for like 3 years somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know what his value is going to be. I'm sure there's going to be people believe in him. You take a look at his stats for his career, and this is the worst of his career, right? Yeah. Jordan Montgomery is a better pitcher than this, period. He's just not pitching like that now. And the idea here is that the Diamondbacks cannot let the fact that they're paying him $25 million stand in the way of them winning baseball games now and possibly winning a championship now. And that money is spent regardless. That money is spent if he's fucking out there shoving or if he's not. But luckily they do have a guy that's shoving. They don't need Jordan Montgomery in the starting rotation because someone is pitching much better than him, and that is Ryne Nelson. When you talk about Ryne Nelson's numbers for the season, they may not be that great, but they're still better than Jordan Montgomery's. You're talking about 95 innings pitched, a 6.44 ERA, a 4.57 FIP, a 315 opponent batting average, and 67 strikeouts for Jordan Montgomery, to Ryne Nelson's 124 innings pitched, a 4.35 ERA, a 3.62 FIP, a 271 opponent batting average, and 101 strikeouts, right? That's their season numbers. But Damon, the last 8 starts are pretty damning. In the last 8 starts, Jordan Montgomery has a 7.11 ERA. In the last 8 starts, Ryne Nelson has a 2.73 ERA. Montgomery has 28 strikeouts to Nelson's 55. And when you talk about opponent batting average, 209 opponent batting average for Ryne Nelson to Jordan Montgomery's 325 opponent batting average. Like, these two things are not the same. They're not the same. And there's no reason why, when we are coming down the stretch, we are here on August 23rd. I believe they said they have 32 games left to play. You can't fuck around and find out about Jordan Montgomery anymore. You have to go with the hot hand. You have to go with Ryne Nelson, right? The Diamondbacks have been very lucky about so many other things, but they have not been very lucky when it comes to acquiring starting pitchers through free agency.
Lefties.
That's probably the thing that they are snake bitten the most about, right?
Yes.
So it sucks. And I think that the one thing that this team continues to do well is to cut their losses on guys, no matter how important that guy is to them. Either, in the front office, they think that this is a key member of the franchise moving forward, or the fact they're spending $25 million on him this year, right? They are not letting anybody get in the way of them winning over the last 2 seasons. And that already got them to the World Series last year. And right now it got them another win tonight with Ryne Nelson on the mound. And I feel like that was the best decision. It's just shocking that it was made, because all of us thought at the end of the day that money was going to control this situation more than common sense.
Yeah, I think so I'm the type of guy where when it comes to players answering questions, I appreciate their honesty. Like I try not to go after an athlete who says something that really, like, bothers the masses when they and it's an answer that they don't like, just because they were trying to be honest when they answered that question.
Sure. Yeah.
But in this circumstance, to me, this screams, I'm not over it, and I'm thinking about it all the time. And that, I think that there's something to be said that maybe that's impacting his performance this season, because he's going back to Boston. He almost signed with the Red Sox on a longer term deal, and Boris kind of, blew it, right? But as an athlete in that situation, I think it's a lot easier to just be like, yeah, it is what it is. And, I'm focused on trying to win baseball games with the current team that I'm on, because we're contending to win a World Series this year. That's our aspiration. And, he chose the other route of being like, yeah, my agent really screwed it up. And I think it's obvious to me that this is where his mind is at. And I get it. It's like, it's a lot of money, and it's generational wealth, and he has a family and he wants to support them. So it's understandable. He's a human, but it's at the same time, it's like, I think I'd be lying to myself if I was saying that I didn't think it was impacting his performance at all.
I'll say this, man. Really, at the end of the day, I know there's probably a lot of teams that passed on giving him what Scott Boras was asking for. And we don't live in that reality to know what he would have pitched like had he got that deal. We live in this reality, but there's probably a lot of teams that are like going, whoo, when it comes to the thought that they were going to give him maybe 5-6 years and a whole shit ton of money to play for their team. And again, we don't know what he would have pitched like had that deal happened. We don't know what his mental state would have been like. Maybe if he was happy, maybe if he was pitching in a place with less humidity and a better air conditioning system, maybe he would be, absolutely killing it right now. But we live in this reality where Jordan Montgomery is now the highest paid reliever in Major League Baseball, surpassing Edwin Diaz's contract of $19.7 million with his $25 million deal. That's where we're at. But you know what? Like I said, the money's been spent. You're invested either way, so why not go for the player that's going to bring you the wins, no matter what their paycheck is, rather than the guy that right now is just been struggling. And that's, a 7.11 ERA in his last 8 starts. That does not play, as Jesse Friedman would probably say. But
no, it doesn't at all.
We all silly like the mayor.